Hey everybody! Thanks so much for clicking on this video. Casey here. We're on day three of the budget dinners. At the beginning of this week, I had spent $25 to get the ingredients to make 5 weeknight dinners for my family of 4. We're on day 3. I'll try to remember to leave links for days 1 and 2 in the description box below. I would say today you probably want to get started a little early, probably around noon, because we need to make a loaf of bread. I'll show you that loaf of bread as soon as I show you the ingredients that you will need today. Thanks for joining me today. I hope that this is fun and entertaining and it's helpful to you. Also, last night's meal we loved. It was really good and filling. We had a little bit left over of all three things: the noodles, the hot dog with tomato sauce, and the salad. There was a little left of everything, probably enough for a lunch. I may end up having the salad with dinner tonight. Who knows? Here's the ingredients we'll need today. We'll need some flour for making some bread. We'll need some of the beef patties, 3½ of them. I did pull out the seasoning here that was left over from the chili packet, but I'm not sure if we'll use that yet. Margarine, some cheddar cheese, some rice, some onions, bell pepper, lettuce, tomato, and cucumber. Forgot to mention, there's the yeast packet, and of course salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. Into this bowl we will place 1 cup of very warm water, 1 packet of yeast, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of melted margarine, and start with about 2 cups of flour. That's the rest of it. That was 3 cups of flour total. Now you'll turn it onto the floured surface and we're going to knead it for about 10 minutes. Again, if you have a stand mixer, I think that's definitely the way to go. And then you're going to want to knead that, let it knead in there with the dough hook for about 5 minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and do it by hand today. So I do want to mention that this is quite a wet dough, so don't think you need to get it super dry. It absolutely was super sticky on me for the first while. I ended up absolutely adding an extra ½ cup of flour. Now I am glad that I pulled out of this flour bag the flour that I need for tomorrow and the next day. And I would say I have still probably another 3/4 of a cup to play with. But yeah, I would highly recommend that you do not overmeasure the water at all for this recipe, or you won't have enough for the rest of the challenge, enough flour for the rest of the challenge. Now we are ready to let this dough rest. We're going to let it rise, double in size at least, okay? This dough has now been rising for 2 hours and it is double in size. We're just gonna lay it out into a rectangle and we're gonna roll it up. So now I'm going to cover this and let this rise. It's probably going to take another 2 hours. If it starts taking too long, then I might stick it in the oven on proof. I have a proof cycle on my oven, so I might do that. I'm going to go ahead and use some of these carrots as well from the carrot bag. I'm going to be cutting up some of these vegetables. As you'll see, it'll just be chunks of them. And this is to cook with the rice tonight so that we have a little bit of extra flavoring in our rice. So all of those carrots that I had pulled out, a chunk of this bell pepper, about like this, and this little extra bit I'm going to cut into there too. Don't put the bell pepper away yet because we're going to cut some more to go into another dish. And then we're going to cut a chunk of this onion like so, and now we're just going to cut all of this up. I gave my knife a quick rinse. I'm going to be cutting some cucumber slices just to have them as a vegetable for tonight. I'm also going to slice these tomatoes very thinly, and I'm going to shred some iceberg lettuce very finely. All right, I've gotten the cucumbers sliced, the tomato sliced, the lettuce has been shredded, although not quite as finely as I'd hoped, but it will work. There are a few bits of tomatoes. Oh, you can't see. These are the ends of the tomatoes. I'm gonna go ahead and keep them in case I can use them for something else. Gave my cutting board and my knife a little rinse, and now we're going to be cutting some of this onion and bell pepper. This is what I decided to go ahead and save for another day. This is what we're going to be putting in our meal today. We're going to be cooking these two vegetables with about 1 tablespoon of the margarine. It doesn't have to be exact. If you prefer to use cooking spray, you can. Get in there. Obviously, I can't do this with one hand. But let me show the other one. Okay, and in this other pan here, this one needs to have a lid. So this is where we're going to be cooking our rice. We're going to put 2 tablespoons of the margarine, and we're going to put those vegetables that we chopped up. Let that cook for a couple minutes, and then we'll add the rice in. But let me get that fixed. Okay, those vegetables in both of those pans are going to be cooking for a while, and I'll come back to you as soon as they're a little bit softer. I'm probably not going to be using any more of that chili packet today, but I will be using salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder for flavoring instead. While the vegetables are starting to cook here, I'm going to pull out these patties. That's that half. I'm going to attempt to cut these into strips. I don't know if they'll stay that way while they're cooking. If they don't, they don't. But if they do, great. I measured out the rice, and it was about 3/4 cup of rice left. So now that these vegetables have been cooking for a little bit and softened up a little bit, we're going to add the rice into this pot right here. As you saw, I put some garlic powder in there and some onion powder, salt, and pepper. After this rice cooks up a little bit, we're going to add 1.5 cups of water to this. And then we're going to put the lid on it and let it cook. In this pot here, we're ready to add in our meat. Just gonna put all of it in there, and then we're gonna put some salt and pepper and garlic powder on everything. Right, 1.5 cups of water, and I'm going to put a little more salt in there as well. All right, let's put the lid on and let that cook. We're going to do the same as we have been doing with the rice. Let it come to a boil and then turn down the heat to a 1. We're going to set the oven to 400 degrees to bake this bread. I just took the towel off the bread and this is what we're looking at. So it's good now. I did honestly have to put it in my oven on proof because it just was taking too long to rise and it was getting late. So I'm just hoping it doesn't deflate while we're waiting for the oven to warm up. The bread is in the oven and we're going to be leaving it in there for about 25 minutes. Here our meat is cooking. It pretty much did not stay in the strips that I wanted it to, but that's all right. We're going to be taking about 4 ounces of this cheddar cheese and shredding it. At this point, the meat with the onions and the bell pepper are definitely finished. So I'm going to go ahead and take them out and put them in this bowl. And that way it'll be ready for layering. And we'll also get some of the grease off of it. 20 minutes, time for the bread to come out. All right, so I have this bread, the bread loaf here, right? It looks fantastic. We're gonna go ahead and attempt to cut it, not all the way through, but I'm not sure that I can pull it off, but we're gonna give it a try. All right, I was able to do it. Now we're gonna put it on the cookie sheet. Now we're going to take some of this meat filling and we're going to put it on the bread. Actually, I think it'll cover the whole bread just fine. So cover the bread with the meat. We're going to now add the cheese. And now at this point, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this into the oven under the broiler for a few minutes. Okay, here it is out of the oven. Now it's time to add our vegetables to it. First up, we're going to add some lettuce. Just pile it on there. And now we got some tomatoes. Okay, so what's left on this plate of vegetables is the cucumbers, and we're going to put those out there for whoever wants cucumbers. This ginormous pile of lettuce and the tomatoes. And now we can put our lid on to this, and I'm going to move it back to the board so we can take a nice picture. And here we have our completed meal. Here we have our rice that we cooked some carrots, onions, and bell peppers in. Not very much, of course, but some. Give it a little bit of flavor. I forgot to mention, if you have chicken broth, you could have cooked it in that, or vegetable broth, or whichever. Then we have our extra vegetables, and then we have our meat sub. It's kind of a twist on a cheeseburger, I would say. All right, we're gonna eat. Here's the lovely plate. As we can see, I took the top off one part of the burger. But there's the rice and my serving of 1/4 of the long hamburger. Sorry, I have the camera angle set up a little funny. I don't want you guys to see any of the mess I haven't cleaned up in the kitchen yet. I just wanted to say my family loved this take on the cheeseburger. They have requested that I put it into the rotation of regular dinners. So that's pretty good. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching.